When they had the 25-point lead, they shot 8 threes in a row, never even came close to using any time on the clock. And you're like, this game ain't over yet.
Down 29 points at home in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Down 27 at halftime, the largest halftime deficit in Finals history. Still down 20 with 9 minutes left. And then, the greatest comeback in Finals history happened, right there at the Garden.
Shot won't go, rebound deflected in the backcourt. Fox has a chance to get it. Fox has it inside, blocked by Anunoby.
Now, most people watch this game and walk away with one takeaway. The Spurs choked. And look, when you blow a 29-point lead on the biggest stage in basketball, that's the easy story to tell. But I don't think that's the only thing that's happened here.
Alvarado off the bounce. Corner three, Anunoby. Bang! 4-point game. Timeout, San Antonio.
Because the Knicks didn't win this on a lucky hot streak, a ref bailout, or some random fourth quarter switch. Everything that fueled this comeback was stuff they'd been doing all season long and even last year's playoffs. When you're down 29, those habits get stretched to the absolute limit. And the Spurs found out the hard way.
Winding down, Towns off the bounce, step back, puts up the three, it's good.
What happens when they do? So, while everybody's going to remember this as the craziest comeback in Finals history, the real story is a lot simpler. This was just the Knicks being who they've been all year, and San Antonio learning what it feels like when that version of New York refuses to go away. So today, we're breaking down the 3 things that turned a 29-point hole into the greatest comeback the Finals have ever seen, and how those same 3 things left San Antonio exposed when it mattered most. On the surface, this is the greatest comeback in basketball history, and make no mistake, it is. The Knicks just wiped out a 29-point deficit in front of a stunned Madison Square Garden crowd to pull off maybe the most important win this franchise has had in decades, if not ever. A game that felt impossible, a game that probably should have been over before the fourth quarter even started. A miracle in New York. But here's the thing nobody really wants to say out loud. The way it happened was kind of predictable. As a neutral basketball fan watching, I never thought the Knicks were out of it. The Knicks have made a habit out of this, and you only have to go back about 3 weeks to see it. In Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals, New York pulled off one of the wildest playoff comebacks in franchise history, erasing a 22-point fourth quarter deficit to beat the Cavs 115-104 in overtime at the Garden. With under 8 minutes to go, Cleveland was up 93-71 and the building was quiet. Then it all flipped. The Knicks caught fire on offense, locked the door on the other end, and closed regulation and overtime on a ridiculous 44-11 run.
Drives, gets past Harden, gets inside, the floater's up and good!
And here's the crazy part. That one wasn't even new. Over the last 2 postseasons, the Knicks have erased deficits of 20 or more 4 separate times. When something keeps happening that often, it stops being luck and starts being who you are. And last year, it was somehow crazier because it was 2 back-to-back. In the 2025 Eastern Conference Semis against the Celtics, New York stared down a 20-point third quarter hole in both Games 1 and Game 2. And both times the response was the same. Chip away in the fourth, storm back late, grab the lead in the final 5 minutes and walk out with the win. They became the first team in NBA history to erase 20-point deficits in back-to-back playoff games, and they stole a 2-0 lead on Boston doing it. And they still weren't done. A week later, down 2-0 to the Pacers in the conference finals, they trailed by 20 again late in the first half of Game 3, rallied and won 106-100, becoming the first team in NBA history to pull off 3 separate 20-point comebacks in a single postseason. And now, a year later, they've topped it all off with another playoff run, more 20-point holes, and are now 1 win away from the franchise's first title in over 50 years. Which brings me to one number, 5-3. That's the Knicks' record when trailing by 20 or more over the last 2 postseasons. The rest of the league combined is 4-71 in those same spots. The Knicks by themselves have more 20-point comeback wins than every other team in the NBA put together. That's become their superpower. So how do they keep doing it? It comes down to one idea that separates them from everybody else. When most teams fall behind by 20, the game starts to feel decided, like a slow walk toward the inevitable. The Knicks just don't see it that way. To them, it's a checklist, a bunch of small jobs done over and over, no matter the quarter or the clock.
3 of the starters for the Knicks.
Alley-oop to Robinson. Beautiful pass from Brunson.
Get a stop, hit a shot, force a turnover, survive a bad possession, then do it again. It doesn't always work, but more often than not, it does. And it's why New York became the first team since the 1975 Warriors to put up double-digit comeback wins in each of its first 2 finals games of a series. And then came Game 4. This one looked a little different from the usual comeback though. Slower, methodical, almost mechanical. Most teams need a hot stretch to erase a lead like that, a flurry of threes, a wave of momentum that swings it all at once. The Knicks just don't operate that way. Brunson basically gave away the whole mindset a few weeks earlier after the Cleveland game. Keep fighting, keep chipping away. We're not going to get it back in one possession. That's the philosophy right there. The next play mentality. So instead of one dramatic swing, it's erosion. A stop here, a corner 3 there, a forced turnover, a clean trip down the floor. Piece by piece, the game changes.
Shot clock at 5. Brunson fires up a 3. Puts it in! 1-point game!
In Game 4, the Spurs did exactly what they'd done all series. Come out fast, build a lead, controlled the first quarter. Normally New York punches back in the second, but not this time. The first half was an absolute abomination for the Knicks. They got buried, down 29, while the Spurs put on one of the best shooting displays in finals history and turned the Garden into a graveyard. They hit 11 of their first 18 from deep, and by halftime, they'd already set the record for the most first half threes in a finals game. At the break, they were 14 of 26 from 3, shooting 60% from the field with 18 assists to New York's 7 and just 2 turnovers to Knicks' 6. When you get outshot, outpassed, and beaten on efficiency that badly, 29 doesn't feel like bad luck. It feels like the game's already been decided. Halftime score, 76-49. Third worst halftime deficit in finals history. The Garden was dead quiet, and usually that's where it ends. In most games like this, the second half is a formality, a slow drift to a final margin everybody already saw coming. But the Knicks don't play games like that. They came out for the second half with a different intent, not trying to get it all back at once, just trying to make every possession uncomfortable. Even when nothing's dropping, they didn't ditch the plan. They just kept chipping, and slowly the game starts to change shape. A quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Prize Picks, and the timing could not be better because the NBA Finals are underway. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports pick app, and if you have the means to do so responsibly, the easiest way to win a little extra cash while you're locked into playoff basketball. Here's the deal, it's stupid simple. You pick more or less on a few players' stats, lock in your lineup, done. No spreads and no math degree required. And if you're new, use code HMA, play your first $5 lineup, and they'll drop $50 in lineups into your account. Links pinned in the description. For today's picks, I'm taking Dylan Harper over on points, Jalen Brunson over on rebounds, and Keldon Johnson over on rebounds. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. So if you want to get in the playoff action, head to the link in the description, sign up with code HMA, drop a $5 lineup, and Prize Picks will give you $50 in lineups to play with. Let's eat. Even so, with 9 minutes left in the fourth, they were still down 20, and history was not on their side. Over the last 30 years, there have been 750 times a team entered the fourth down 20 or more, and only 4 of them came back to win. The Knicks were already one of those 4 from the Cleveland game, making the record 4-747. Now here we were again, down 20 in the fourth in the finals. The odds were somewhere around 1 in 188, and the odds of being the first team ever to do it twice in one postseason were even uglier, but they did it anyway. And it's how they did it that matters. No huge swing, just possession by possession, chipping away at the lead. The scoreboard was never the point for them, the next possession was. Now here's the thing about San Antonio. They're scary when everything's easy. When shots are falling and the floor is open, the Knicks are built for the ugly stuff. Once the game stops being comfortable, everything tightens up, and that's exactly where New York wants you. San Antonio dropped 76.5 when it was all flowing. When the game turned into a half-court, grinded-out basketball, that number cratered to 30. The Knicks held them to 14 in the third, the kind of quarter that shrinks a lead and quietly starts planting doubt in the team that's ahead. Then came the fourth. New York held San Antonio to 16, clawed all the way back, grabbed and lost a 1-point lead, and delivered the dagger when OG Anunoby flew in to put back a Brunson miss with 1.2 seconds left on the clock.
Brunson gets it, fires up a three. Shot no good, the chip, it's gone! It's gone!
Game over. But a next play mentality only works if somebody keeps feeding you the next play. And in New York, that job belongs to one guy. A guy who'd been shooting under 40% inside the arc and under 32% from deep through the first two games, and somehow still made it all go. Truth is, Jalen Brunson hasn't been at his best for big chunks of this series. After going 19 for 56 across the first two games in San Antonio, the discourse spun out fast. The "see, Becky Hammon was right about him" crowd came out swinging. But it's not that simple.
I'm not sure, though, about tonight.
And Brunson drew the foul, counted at one.
Yeah, Brunson's averaging 29.5 through 4 finals games, which on paper is superstar stuff. But dig in though, and it gets messier. He's putting up those numbers shooting under 40% inside the arc and under 35% from 3, with even those splits propped up by his 2 home games. Through the first 3 games, he had 13 assists and 13 turnovers. The Knicks were outscored by 13 in his minutes, and they outscored the Spurs by 30 when he sat. A lot of that is the workload, a 38% usage rate that ate close to half of New York's on-ball possessions. On most teams, your star playing like that gets you blown out, a 20-point hole, a 3-1 deficit going the wrong way. Except the Knicks are the ones up 3-1. So how does a team keep winning with its star looking this stretched? Because stopping Brunson is exactly what San Antonio thought would work. Overload him, blitz him, send doubles early, make him see bodies the second he crosses half court, even bump Wemby up the floor to kill space before the action starts. And it kind of worked. It slowed him down, forced tougher reads, made every possession a grind. What it didn't do was stop the Knicks, because the Knicks were never just Jalen Brunson. Everything starts with him sure, and New York's offense runs on him creating something out of nothing. But this postseason, they've shown a scarier wrinkle. They don't need him to dominate the ball to dominate the game. Look at the 3 games they've won in this series, and you see the same pattern. Brunson's scoring gets de-emphasized, not erased, just spread around. He turns into more of a screener, a spacer, a connector, instead of carrying every possession himself. While that might look like a defensive win for the Spurs, it quietly cracks open everything else. OG Anunoby cutting into empty space and knocking down shots, Karl Anthony Towns punishing switches and downhill drives and stretching the floor, Mikal Bridges attacking closeouts and getting into the middle. All of a sudden, the defense loading up on Brunson has 5 different problems to deal with.
Vooch. Brunson and Towns, the 2-man game. Towns lines up his 3-pointer.
That wasn't an accident either. It's one of the big adjustments Mike Brown leaned into to take this offense up a level. And it's exactly why this roster was built the way it was. Bridges, Harden, and Anunoby to defend and steady things. Towns to stretch the floor and punish mismatches inside. All of it designed to survive the exact coverage Brunson is getting right now. Brunson still flips back into on-ball mode when the game calls for it, especially late, where he's their best shot maker under pressure, like he proved in Game 1. And the one game they drifted from that, they lost. In Game 3, the Knicks leaned back into heavy Brunson creation and away from the movement that fueled their playoff run. He still produced 32 points on 11 of 25, but the offense got tight and the flow vanished, and it wasn't enough. When Brunson has to be their entire offense, the Knicks are good. When the rest of the roster gets cooking around him, they're a nightmare to deal with. So what happens when they lean that way? You get Game 4. Brunson finished with 36 on 12 of 25, 7 assists, 3 steals, just 3 turnovers in 44 minutes. But the real shift was the second half, where he scored 17 on 6 of 11 and stopped forcing everything through himself. He moved the ball earlier, trusted the offense more, and still came up huge when it counted, hitting momentum shot after momentum shot to steady the whole thing. That's the second thing that burned San Antonio. They built their whole defense around stopping one Knick, and the Knicks are built so that stopping one just turns the others loose. In Game 4, that's exactly what happened. If Brunson is the brains of this team, OG is the spine of the comeback. and that's what should really worry San Antonio. With 15 seconds left, San Antonio still had this game. They had the lead, and the ball found De'Aaron Fox off a rebound. One possession later, it was gone because of OG Anunoby. He erased the shot attempt, and after a reset and a timeout, he delivered the final blow, tipping in a missed Brunson 3 to finish the comeback. No celebration, no theatrics, just a guy moving like he was built for that exact moment. And that's been the whole story of this series. Comebacks like this need guys whose games don't wobble when the pressure hits. When everything tightens, most players shrink or rush or force it. OG just keeps doing OG things. Down 29 or up 1. First quarter or final possession. The output doesn't change, and that steadiness holds everyone around him together. Timely cuts, open threes, physical defense, nothing forced, whether he's matched up on Wemby or working against drop coverage and switches. And in Game 4, it turned into one of the best performances in Knicks playoff history. 33 points, 4 rebounds, 2 stocks, 10 of 15 from the field, 7 of 9 from 3, 6 of 6 at the line. Efficient, decisive, and unshakable. In the first half, his shooting was the only reason the Knicks weren't completely out of it. He's been this version of himself all playoffs, quietly turning into the Knicks stabilizer on both ends, and now he's got the signature moment too, a finals game winner that's going to live in franchise history forever. He's even worked his way into the finals MVP conversation. 23.8 a game in the series, with the biggest shot of the whole thing. Because what he represents is what this Knicks team has turned into. Talent is part of it, but the real edge is execution. When the game got chaotic, San Antonio started reacting, while the Knicks just kept running their stuff. And that's not something talent alone explains. It takes composure and a group that's already lived through chaos and figured out how to function inside of it. San Antonio isn't there yet, the Knicks are. In Game 4, they played like a team that had been here before because they have. So is this the craziest finals game ever? That's kind of the wrong question to ask. Yeah, on paper it's the biggest comeback in finals history. A 29-point deficit erased, blowing past the Celtics' 24-point record from 2008 as a single game swing. Nothing in the sport tops it. But the greatest finals game ever usually means something else. Game 7 in 2016, Game 6 in 2013. Games that decided titles, not just tilted one result inside a series. This one didn't win a championship. It pushed a series the Knicks already led to 3-1, and that's exactly why it tells you so much. Game 4 didn't invent some new Knicks identity. It just squeezed the same one they've had all year into one impossible night. Talent can build a 29-point lead, protecting it takes a team, and the Knicks have proven over and over that's what they are. So the real question isn't whether this was the craziest finals game ever, it's whether San Antonio can grow up fast enough before this series is gone. Let me know what you think. Do the Knicks close this out in 5? Or do the Spurs steal one and push it to 6? Drop your take in the comments. And as always, hit the like and hype buttons, subscribe for more breakdowns of this finals series, and check out one of these videos on your screen now.